Sammayam Padiyatam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadito Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'd like to offer my Dandavata Pranam in the dust of the Lord Sri Bhagavan spiritual masters Nityalila Krishna Vishnupad Shri Shri Mahashila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Nityalila Krishna Vishnupad Shrimati Gaudana Goswami Maharaj Nityalila Krishna Vishnupad Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj all our Rupanuja Guru Varga Vaishnava and Vaishnavi led by Srimad Ramananda Prabhu. So again, order to speak.
Not order, this is our time, this is our food, soul food.
I had a question, but I'm not allowed to ask the question. But it's a good question, maybe, because I read that because Yashoda Maya and Nanda Maharaj, they couldn't get a child for a long time. And then they followed one vow, which was to follow Dwadasa. I could not understand what was the type of vow that means to follow Dwadasa. So my question is, could you answer this?
You are speaking, then I'm giving you.
Huh?
You are speaking, after I'm giving you.
I have to speak. Well, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy is like the sun, it's very powerful. But Lord Nityananda Prabhu's mercy is reflected, a reflection of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. Like the sun rays is very, very strong. It's difficult to absorb them. But when they reflect on the moon, then the moon's rays is easier to connect this. So Nityananda's mercy is there, and it says that mercy has no limit. There is no limit to mercy. But if there is a limit, then Nityananda Prabhu is that limit. So Nityananda Prabhu is Akhanda Guru Tattva. That means he is the perfect guide, perfect spiritual master. He is the sum total of all spiritual masters. He knows us to perfectly how to display mercy and compassion. And therefore, spiritual masters are expansions, manifestations of that Akhanda Guru Tattva, that Tattva Guru Tattva. There is one instance where Nityananda Prabhu, he saved one devotee. Many instances, but I want to tell only one story, that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went South India, there was one servant who was assisting him. His name was Kala Krishnadas. Then he was traveling South India, and one day the Bataharis, you know, the gypsies, gypsy women called Bataharis. He was presented with one lady, and this Kala Krishnadas, although he was with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, direct related to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his own presence, still he felt attracted to that lady. And then he went to the group of the gypsies And Mahaprabhu felt, oh, if I don't do anything, he will be lost. Then he took him back forcefully, and then he finished this tour, and after 2 years he came back to Jagannath Puri. Arriving in Jagannath Puri, he told, you will go now, whatever you want to do, you will do, but I will not keeping you with me. Anyway, I have saved you. That's what I do. But he felt he's not qualified to be with me. So he said, you do now whatever you like. So Krishna felt helpless. But Nityananda Prabhu came. And Nityananda Prabhu saved him. He said, oh, you don't know what to do. Okay, now you go to Navadvip and you go to Sachimata, and you tell how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after 2 years of touring South India, just came back to Jagannath Puri, and that everything is okay, everything is fine. He's very happy. And by giving this message, you will please him and you will please me also. And Sachidevi will be also very, very happy. So in this way, although Krishna Das's cases was desperate, Nityananda Prabhu, above Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, beyond Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's limit, he saved that devotee. Also Lakshman, a story, maybe you never heard it. It's a very small story, but very interesting. Very soon will be Ram Navami, so it's very interesting now. There's many stories which are very, very nice related to that celebration. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Mithila, Janak Maharaj's city, Mithila, then every morning he was picking up flowers in the garden of Janak Maharaj for the worship of Vishwamitra and other things also. So he would go in the garden, very beautiful, full of flowers, and Lakshman was following him, and Ram was picking up the best, most beautiful flowers, blossom, everything very nice. And so Lakshman was following him, and all of a sudden he heard lamentation. He said, what's happening? He looked around and he saw the small birds, flowers which are not open yet, were lamenting. He said, what's happening? He turned to them and he said, what's going on? What's happening? What's the problem? They say, Ram is picking up the best flowers, but he's completely neglecting us. He doesn't have any interest in us because we are not blossoming. We are not having nice fragrance yet. We are not mature. So therefore we're deprived of the service of Ram. So we feel completely helpless, desperate. So we approach you. You please do something to help us. And Lakshman very mercifully said, okay, don't worry, I will arrange everything. Then he picked up all the little birds, and later on he used them to decorate the crown, the mukut of Lord Ram. So although they felt most fallen, desperate because no service, no engagement, Guru, Lakshman is also Akhanda Guru Tattva, is expansion or manifestation of Nityananda. He engaged them. How? He placed them on the highest place on Lord Ram's body. The flowers would go around the neck of anyone, but the birds, they were placed on the highest position on Ram's body. So this is the mercy of Guru. He can save us and he can give us the highest. So Lakshman, Nityananda, they have such a central position in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, Lord Ram's pastimes. There was another instance also when finally, when all the kings tried to take up the bow, you know, for the Swayamvar, none of them succeeded. So Janak Maharaj, he was saying that these two, Lakshman and Ram, are there, and this is the last hope that I have, that someone will be able to marry Sita. So he stood up and he loudly said, "Oh, I didn't know that there was nobody in this world who was a man who could lift this bow. If I knew that there was no such a person, such a man, then I would have not ridiculed myself to put this challenge. So he was thinking, if I speak, then Lakshman is like a pole, and Ram is like the flag on the pole. Then if I speak in such a way, then Lakshman, the pole, will stand up, and then the flag immediately will, wave immediately. So he spoke in such a way, then immediately Lakshman, angrily, he stood up and said, "How offensive you are to speak in such a way. You don't know who you're speaking to. When we, both brothers, were children, we used to break hundreds and hundreds of bows like this every day." So then he spoke very heavily, and then he said, "If I get permission, then immediately I will take this bow, I will lift it, I will bend it, and I will break it in 1,000 pieces." And he was waiting. But Ram said, "Please sit down." He thought if I give him permission, then he will marry Sita. So he said, "You sit down." Then Vishwamitra looked at Ram and said, "You go." Then Ram, very, very slowly, walks towards the bow. Everybody was looking at him. And he was looking at the bow. And then all of a sudden, he looked at Sita. Sita was thinking, all these big, powerful kings, they couldn't lift even 1 millimeter this bow. How this young lad, who is so, young, not so strong, how can he do this? Not possible. And she was thinking, he will not be able to lift the bow. And she was praying, Parvati, "Oh, please make this bow very, very, very light." But she was like about to die, because she thought, he will not do it, then I will not be able to marry him. Then my life will be wasted. Then I will commit suicide. So when Ram looked at her, he saw that she was feeling like this. She was about to die. So he thought, "Oh, I'll better go and lift this bow before she dies." And then although he was walking very, very slowly, then he very quickly, he reached the bow, and in no time, he lifted, bent it, put the arrow, and then he broke it into millions of pieces. Nobody saw anything. It was so fast that everybody was like, "What happened?" They just heard the bow breaking into pieces. They couldn't believe it. So fast, nobody could follow anything. Then when she saw that, Sita was like, so much relieved. Then she had to give garland to Lord Ram. So they brought very beautiful garland, And then she approached Ram. But Ram was very, very tall. And she couldn't put the garland on the neck of Ram. So one lady next to her, she said to Ram, maybe you could bow down a little bit. But Ram said, I never bowed before anyone in all my life. So then, situation was not progressing. Then Ram looked at Lakshman and said, do something. And Lakshman is Sandini Shakti, so he lifted the earth under Sita's feet, that she could be a little higher. But because she was close to Ram, Ram also was lifted. So the situation was same. Then Lakshman immediately he dived into Ram's lotus feet to touch them. Then when Ram saw him, he bent, took him in his embrace, in his arms. At that time when he bent, then Sita, she put the garland. So then all the brothers got married. Before Sita met Ram, she was praying to Parvati, please make in such a way that my husband should not be dark complexions. I want a husband who is very, very golden complexion. But she thought at the same time that she will never fulfill my desire. She will do exactly the opposite. But she was praying very, very strongly. So Parvati, once she came and she told her, your husband will be dark skinned, but don't worry, you will like him very much. So when she saw Ram, she felt very, very much attracted to him. She was very pleased. So then, when all the other brothers of Ram got married with the sisters and others, ladies, then there was like a humoristic scenery, if you can say. They covered the face of all the wives, newly married, and they put the husbands in front of them in a row. And they asked every husband, can you recognize who is your wife? They put a veil on everyone's face. Can you recognize who is your wife? So they start by asking Ram, who is Sita? And he looked and he said, she is Sita. Then they asked Bharat, who is your wife? And he looked and he said, oh, she is my wife. And then they asked Shatrughna, who is your wife? And he said, oh, this one is my wife. And then they asked Lakshman, who is your wife? And he said, this one is my wife. So they were still covered. And when they would uncover, and if the husband would have found who was his wife, then he would kiss her. So they uncovered, unveiled Sita, and they, oh Ram, how did you find out she was Sita? He said, oh, I've seen her before, so I know exactly. Okay. Then they asked Bharat, how did you find out? Oh, whatever I do, I always pray to the lotus feet of Ram. And I never make a mistake by this, so far. So they unveiled his wife, and he was right, then he kissed her. Then he went to Shatrughna, and they asked him, how did you find out? Oh, I am the smallest, and she's the smallest. So by deduction, I said, by conclusion, I designated her. So they unveiled her, and he kissed her. Then they asked Lakshman, how did you find your wife? He said, she was the last one, I had no choice. So I said, she is the one. So then they said, yes, and he approached her, about to kiss her. Then when they took out the veil, there was an old man with no teeth laughing. So we're not lacking of humor. So this is the pastimes of Lord Ram and his brother. So I will not seek any Sarvasiddhanta. Everything is included in this. Hare Krishna.
Mata has no son or children. Long time Nanda Baba has no children. Then Gopal Champu there is telling they are following Mahadadashi Vrata. And then get God is Krishna. So you know this history. Meanings, 1,000 times I am Gopal Champu to this program is I am telling. Where gone? This program? Huh? No, they are following Mahadadashi Vrata. Once begin in a meeting. Okay, then any other program you tell me. What is your program today? You tell me. Why not Nanda Baba and just as my children? Why? Why not accepting what I said before? Where gone this whole program? All is left of memory. Your memory also gone. So there is no need coming here. You go the Bandhu. They are all memory. Crazy center. You go there. After this speaking.
ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य गणञ्जनं शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायणाय नामिने पञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। So one time, Srila Gurudeva was also asked this question. What is that Dwadashi Vrata that Yashoda Maya and Nanda Baba were following? And Srila Gurudeva explained that when the Ekadashi Tithi is being touched by the Dashami Tithi, is being contaminated, when the Ekadashi is not fully in one day, then we jump that Ekadashi and then we will follow the Dwadashi. So this is called the Mahadwadashi Vrata. So this is the explanation Srila Gurudeva gave. I don't know if there is more details on that, but Srila Gurudeva explained like this. So they were following this Mahadwadashi Vrata. We have 6 Mahadwadashis along the year, 8 Mahadwadashis along the year, and then we follow that because Ekadashi have been touched by the Dashami Tithi, right? So yesterday,
More question.
huh?
More question.
No. Yesterday we were nicely discussing about Ekadashi, and after getting answer from Prabhuji, I was thinking that in Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our books for all the evidences, for all all the moods that we should perform our sadhana. In the Bhagavatam is only mentioning about 3 vratas. This is Urja Vrata in Kartika time, when we worship Srimati Radharani, Swarup Shakti. There is also Katyayani Vrata, when we worship Jogamaya Devi, also Swarup Shakti, and the Ekadashi Vrata. So, if we understand that Bhagavatam is only revealing the glories of Srimati Radharani, so for our Gaudiya Vaishnavism, we should also try to understand that Ekadashi also must be one vrata to please and worship Srimati Radharani. That's why when I make the question, why is Bhakti Janani? Why is mother of Bhakti? Because if we say Madhava Titi and automatically saying Bhakti Janani, this becomes some impediment, because Krishna, he is the Purush. So that is Madhava Titi. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he is telling actually that is Bhakti Janani, that is Bhakti Devi. So Bhakti Devi is also Swarup Shakti, because Radharani, she's the source and also the end of all bhakti. So Ekadashi Vrata is also one vrata for the worshipping of the Swarup Shakti. And in this way, our Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they follow this Ekadashi Vrata as one more way to please Srimati Radharani. So, based on the conception of Shuddha Bhakti, Srila Rupa Goswami, he has explained Anyapilasita Shunyam Jnana Karmadya Navritam Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam Bhaktirutama. He's saying that all the activities we will perform will be for the sole pleasure of Sri Krishna. But again, we come to the point that how is that we are Radharani's followers? But Rupa Goswami, he's saying that only Krishna Anushilana. So then, how can we understand that actually Krishna is referring to Krishna himself, Brajendananda Shamsundar? But if we say Krishna, that is referring to Srimati Radharani. So Krishna Anushilanam Bhaktirutama. So all the activities we do for the pleasure of Srimati Radharani, that is considered Uttama Bhakti. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he comes to give through Srila Rupa Goswami and all our Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Varga, what is the highest position that the jiva can attain? And that is the maid servant of Srimati Radhika. So this Uttama Bhakti must be to be made servant of Srimati Radhika, nothing less than that. So our Gaudiya Guru Varga interpret this Shuddha Bhakti, Uttama Bhakti, as being the maid servant of Srimati Radhika. So in this way, we are one more time understanding how Srimad Bhagavatam is revealing everything for us, but only if we are on the guidance of Rasik Vaishnavas, of those who are Nitya Siddha Parikar, those who are already eternal maid servants of Srimati Radhika, then we can actually understand the words of Shastra. Because Shastra has many meanings, different levels of understanding. Shastra is being written for all kinds of people. So everyone will understand the Shastra according to their own capacity. Like the sky is infinite, but each bird will only fly in that much high according to its capacities. So we are very fortunate that we have got the shelter of the lotus feet of Srila Gurudev and all the Vaishnavas who are also taking shelter of his lotus feet, that we are able to understand the Shastra in its highest aspects and purpose. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वञ्चाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। First of all, I offer my humble obeisances to the lotus feet of our Paramaharajattama, Srila Gurudev Nityalila Pradishtam Vishnupad, Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, to our Upanuru Guru Varga, to the assembled Vaishnavas. So Prabhuji has asked the question from Shruti Maharaji, and I know I am a good example of a Kali Yuga person forgetting all the nectar we're hearing from Vaishnavas and Srila Gurudev. So first, I just want to warn everyone that whatever I say is more speculation, but like a little baby speaking something, following the order of parents or elders, then hopefully elders become pleased, even though sometimes babies speaking useless things. So we've heard that the original parents, like Sri Krishna is original Bhagavan, and his Rasavaisaha, his Rasa, all his pastimes are showing all these different moods of love and the sweetest affection, pastimes with gopis, with parents, Mother Yasoda, Nanda Baba, with his sakas, with Baladev Prabhu and all friends, and of course their servants, all Brajbasis. So now sometimes it is mentioned that Yashoda and Nanda Baba, they didn't have children, or like all their children also died, and only Krishna came. Now we have to understand that these ones are the pastimes in the Prakat, in this Prakat manifestation. Now also we have to understand that there are personalities also that is involved in these pastimes, aside from Yashoda and Nanda Baba, who are taking the role of parents of Krishna. We've heard that there are these two personalities, Prishti and Sutapa. There's also Drona and Dara. Now, they're doing in previous kalpas and so many, like long time ago, I don't know exactly how long, but if we find in some commentaries of our Goswamis, you'll know. But it is said they've been doing tapasya for like 60,000 years. And so like for the case of Prishni and Sutapa, they're doing so rigid austerities, and finally Lord Brahma came and asked, "What? I'm so pleased with your tapasya. Please ask for any boon." And so they asked for the boon that may this mood of love, of like this Vatsalya mood, this mood of devotion, like the parents of Krishna, of God, may this mood also come to us. And so Lord Brahma, he gave, like, so be it. Lord Brahma gave that blessing. And so therefore, when the pastime of Krishna has come to be manifested in this world, these personalities, Krishna and Sutapa,
they also took the role, and they merged in that body of Yashoda and Nanda Baba. And in that way, they're able to also experience this mood, this Vatsalya mood that is there inherent in this relationship between Krishna and his parents. And later on, after that pastime it became unmanifest at the end of the Krishna Lila, then this Vrishniasatapa, they went to the Aprakat, Braj, in Gokul, and they became parents, like Brijbasis, but also like one of the Brijbasis, but in that mood of parental affection towards Krishna. And for Drona and Dara, they're also doing austerities. And when they were asked for a boon, they asked that may we become we become a parent to God, like that, or something like that. And then it was God's or Narayan or Vishnu who appeared. He said, "No one can be like me. I will myself will manifest, and in my lila, then you will become like my parents." So therefore, in the past time, in Mathura, in Mathura, then there was Vasudev and Devaki. But then you can see that in these two, they have this mood of awe and reverence. They still see Krishna like God, not like Mother Yasoda, when really their mood is just simply like a parent. They see Krishna as even like a naughty boy, and they chastise him. So now, then the question is asked, why this thing is happening? Krishna arranged that no other baby, this Yashoda and Nanda Baba, or like in that case where Sutapat Prishni is there. Now, before that also they were Kashyap and Aditi. Now, their ultimate goal is they want to have this mood of Vatsalya. Now, Krishna arranged that ultimately this mood of devotion will only be centered around himself. Now, if they're gonna have like other babies before him or after him, then there'll be division of this love. Like they'll be thinking of other personalities aside from like Krishna. And it's actually kind of the same situation with those devotees in Dwarka or Mathura. Like Krishna has many queens. Now each queen, Krishna has how many? 10 sons and one daughter. So you can see that Gurudev is telling that their love actually is divided. But in Braj, like compare that to the love of the gopis, no division at all. Like only Krishna. So like this, we can understand that it is Krishna showing his fulfillment of the desire of the devotee. They specifically pray that we want to have this Vatsalya mood. They did not even pray that we want to be your parent. Like, but they want for that love of that parent. And so therefore, Krishna has arranged nicely that really they will have that and really have that full. And so like this, and if it's connected to a particular Dwadasi, that therefore this boon is given, that they begot a son, and that is Krishna, then we can understand that, of course, all pastimes of Krishna are unlimited, and in every pastime there's so many lessons. So it's like this. It's also showing that how powerful Dwadasi Vrat is. That using this Vrat, a person can attain this mood of even becoming like the parents of Krishna, of God Himself, and not just like the parent like Devaki and Vasudev, but that parent like Yashoda and Nanda Baba, where their love is not tinged with any mode of Aishwarya.
Correct. Now next. Finish. No more. No more speculation.
No more speculation.
No need more.
More. I cannot think of anything more to speculate, but I was just inspired. I was listening to Maharaj glorifying Lord Nityananda Prabhu. So, like he was mentioning the story of one time when, how merciful Lord Nityananda. He even saved this Kala Krishna Das of, see, this is the nature of the jiva. The nature of the jiva, we're tatashta. And we have probably explained also yesterday that independence, and Krishna would not interfere with that independence, so-called independence. Now, sometimes we hear people criticizing, even Gurudev, they're criticizing like, oh, he must not be bona fide because look, his disciple is falling down, or his sannyasi is fallen. But we have to understand that even Mahaprabhu himself, like we should understand how what position Srila Krishnadas had at that time. When Mahaprabhu decided that I will go to South India, he said, I want to go alone. And then all the devotees, they became so like, already they're anticipating that mood of separation, that oh, Mahaprabhu will leave us. But then they're also thinking, if Mahaprabhu is going to go alone, then who's going to take care of him? So then they actually become like so worried. And so even Lord Nityananda Prabhu even volunteered, he said, I've been to all these places in South India with my Guru Maharaj, Lakshmi Pati Tirtha. He was like bringing him all over places. Like, I know all these places, so you should take me. So he volunteered himself. Then Lord Chaitanya said, like, no, you already broke my danda. you did so many, like, all these things. It's like, I cannot take you. And then...
Not only danda, giving order, the sannyasi, begging door to door, maintaining us. Why you took sannyas? Sannyasi meaning you are a guru and all are patient and all are maintainer. Go, collecting bhiksha. Sannyasi, without bhiksha, sannyasi, no maintaining oneself, no giving any others. Go. Then he gone bhiksha for, and he breaking his dondo. Not only dondo, say dondo is fighting. Hey, who are you? Where from come? All are carrying him. He is carrying you. Nonsense. He's giving him punishment. Like Nityananda. You repeat.
So then he was telling, like he volunteered, and Mahaprabhu was telling, no, I cannot take you. Like, you're doing all these things. You're breaking my danda and other things. And then Lord Nityananda said, like, then bring the other devotees. And I said, no, everyone here, they want me to become like enjoyer, like Bhogi. There's Jagadananda, we know Jagadananda Pandit, like he's making all this nice bed for Mahaprabhu and bringing oil. So then it's like, no, and then there's Swarup, there's Damodar.
Not like, only oil, not only Bhoga, he's all time giving order, instruction. Follow, good, not follow, then he's big man, more than Satyavama. And then big problem. Then his Mahaprabhu himself is telling, oh, Jagadananda, 3 days I cannot eating, I'm very hungry, you get this cooking for me, I'm going for bathing and coming back and eating. Other big problem. Going away, Mahaprabhu quickly walking, then he is back, his man, he cannot going, then Mahaprabhu coming back for him, where are you, what are you doing, where are you going? Then big problem. This man is big, bitter, not sweet. Next.
So yes, so Mahaprabhu was telling, yeah, and if I don't follow their order, then they
Argument.
argue and they become angry. So like this, like I cannot take anyone. So then they were actually becoming like so sad. But then later on, Lord Nityananda convinced Mahaprabhu that no, like you have to bring someone. We'll arrange with one Brahmin, and he will see. You will be walking, and you'll be bringing your kamandalu, and you need at least some like extra coping and a cloth. But then we know that sometimes you become absorbed and you become ecstatic, and then you fall down. So who's gonna watch over your things? Okay, so then later on, Mahaprabhu agreed, and therefore Kala Krishna Das, he was the one appointed by the devotees, and Mahaprabhu accepted. So no one had that opportunity to be with Mahaprabhu.
Okay, now explaining. This Kala Krishna Das. No Gora Krishna Das. What is the meaning? Meaning Krishna is black. No. Hey, Krishna is black. That black Krishna Das, then Mahaprabhu Das. Mahaprabhu Gora Krishna. Gaur Krishna. This Gaur Krishna Das, a Kala Krishna Das. Explaining it, please.
So Prabhupada is bringing this interesting point that his name is Kala Krishna Das. He's Krishna Das. He's servant of Krishna. But who's Krishna? Now which Krishna? In this pastime, Mahaprabhu, he is Krishna, but he is Gaur Krishna. Now this devotee's name is Kala Krishna Das. He's actually a servant of that Krishna the black Krishna, or Krishna in Dwapara Yuga. So
Therefore his insect is coming in Germany.
So the Prabhupada is saying, therefore some enjoyer mood is there, like his master.
Gaur Krishna Das is never coming in Germany.
But Gaur Krishna Das never is enjoying mood. Always like we've heard, like very humble, like servant mood.
Gaur Krishna and Gauri Krishna, Radharani is servant, they have no this mood. But Krishna's servant, Brahma mood. This mood coming definitely.
So therefore, in this particular pastime, Mahaprabhu then started his tour.
Don't insert Mahaprabhu. Insert Krishna, no problem. But my Mahaprabhu nobody inserted. Then
Never. So then he started his tour in South India. Then we've heard from Maharaj, he was telling that, but this Kala Krishna Das later on, he
has not faith for Gaur Krishna. Therefore he ran away. Then a Chandru says, yes, you come, going Sarimata near, then faith coming for you. Gaur Krishna.
Translation.
He can do.
So
Afraid.
when he was in South India, then we know the story that he was enticed, he was attracted by these gypsies. And Mahaprabhu had to save him. And see, he's with Mahaprabhu, God himself. And he is in that position that all the other parkers could not do, and he was there. But what happened? He himself ran away from Mahaprabhu. Even like us, as this is my point, like we Tatasha Jeev, even if we're with God, if we really choose to stay away, then He will. It happens. So therefore, you cannot really blame God. You cannot blame Mahaprabhu, or how do you go? Insult or criticize Mahaprabhu. Same way like now, sometimes we see the disciples of Srila Gurudev giving diksha or giving even sannyas. But then these devotees, they followed different way, and therefore the people see that they're fallen, and then they criticize, their Gurudev is not bona fide, he's fallen. But we can see, even with Mahaprabhu, this thing happens because the jiva has the choice, and God will not interfere with that. Although it is still His mercy later on that He will save this person. So like with Kala Krishna Das, he got captured by these gypsies. And Mahaprabhu himself went to that camp of the gypsies, and he had to fight with them. And I think he killed some of the. I don't know.
That's speculation.
That's speculation.
No,
He
Mahaprabhu
fought
giving
with them.
inspiration, then two party. One party telling, I am taking this boy. My daughter is giving marriage. Another party telling, I am giving daughter, my daughter is marriage. Then two party fighting. Big fight start. Actual things. Big fight start. And Mahaprabhu at a time taking him and run away. Eh. Otherwise, one is pulling this side, one is pulling that side. Say, no, this will be my son, my daughter, husband. Say, no, this will be my daughter, husband. Eh. Then big fight start. Mahaprabhu said, hey, come with me. Eh. Then Mahaprabhu giving some own sweet his help he agreed. Then his Mahaprabhu discerned.
So after when Mahaprabhu came back from his South India tour, then he's telling Lord Nityananda and others, like, look, what you've given me, this. And then he told them, like, I had to take him out from these gypsies, and so I have nothing to do with this person. Let him leave. Like that. So Mahaprabhu actually rejected him. But then it is by Lord Nityananda still. Lord Nityananda is so merciful, and he made it that this devotee will still be engaged in service of Mahaprabhu. And so Prabhuji was telling that he arranged that he became like a messenger to give news to all the Navadvip Basis. Like here, they were in Puri, and when news came that Mahaprabhu left Puri and go in tour, then we know how, we can imagine how they will be feeling. They'll be feeling all the time, Mahaprabhu, where could he be now? What's happening? How is he doing now? So now Lord Nityananda is sending this Kala Krishna Das to Sachimaya to tell the news that, oh, Mahaprabhu has returned and he's now back in Puri. And so then he has actually become an instrument for the happiness of the people here in Navadvip and in Gormandal. And being engaged in the service of the Navadvip Basis and Mother Sachi, then also he will develop this, what he's telling, this faith on Mahaprabhu, and deeper relation with Mahaprabhu. So, like this, Lord Nityananda, he is very merciful, and we know that he's Akanta Guru Tattva. And as Akanta Guru Tattva, in all his pastimes, so many lessons actually we can learn, and very inspiring for us devotees. And I just want to mention this, that in the path of bhajan, very important principle, that is Avesh and Anugatya. Avesh meaning absorption, and Anugatya meaning always under guidance. Like us, Srila Gurudev is mentioning that we are Rupanuga. So we are always under guidance of Rupa Goswami. Or Raganuga, meaning our mood of devotion is spontaneous, like that of the Brajvasis. So in the pastimes of Lord Nityananda, from the very beginning, he's teaching these principles. Like his name, he is Nityananda, eternal happiness. So he's teaching us how to have this eternal happiness, how to become really happy. And therefore, from the early pastimes, he's showing, he's gathering all his friends and just making everyone absorbed in pastimes of Krishna and his incarnations. So we know how he have plays, and they do like drama of different pastimes, like Putana and killing of some demons, and also Ram Leela. So like this. And in this way, the kids, they become absorbed, and people watching also, they become absorbed in Leela of Krishna and his incarnations. So this is like very important principle, like to have very strong bhajan. We always have to be absorbed, and Lord Nityananda is teaching this. And also, like him, he's giving all guidance, like Guru. So everyone is also have to understand this important principle on Anugatya, like always under guidance. So there was even the question, I think a few days ago, that how to reconcile when we say spontaneous and at the same time, it has to be under guidance. Then no, like this mode of devotion is spontaneous, like the gopi. It's not like under rule and regulation, but it has to be anugatya. That's why anuga, like raganuga, like that mood which is following that love of the Braja gopis or the Braja inhabitants. So like this, or rupanuga meaning following in the line of Rupa Goswami. So our Lord Nityananda, we can see that his pastimes are also very like tricky. Like when see Mahaprabhu sent him, when Mahaprabhu was in Puri, Mahaprabhu was telling him that, oh, I have come here to deliver all the conditioned jivas. But if you also try to become like me, like a hermit, because Mahaprabhu at that time, he was now not traveling, he was just staying in Gambhira, and he was just staying in Puri. So if you're just gonna be like a, like a muni, like a hermit, then what will be the situation for the jivas? So please, like, you have to go and preach. So I order you, go to Bengal and you go and preach. And so, therefore, Lord Nityananda with some other devotees, like 5 or 6, they went to Bengal, and there we can see how they're preaching. They will just be absorbed. They're walking and doing their Harinam Sankirtan, and they're just so absorbed that sometimes they don't. They will walk, and when they're asking like, oh, where's this place? And then people say like, oh, that's like 2 hours away, like 2 hours back. So like they actually lost their way. And then they say, okay, then let's go back. So then again, they become so absorbed in their like chanting. And then they walk too far again back. And then they ask again, now where is the way to the Ganga, and like that. And then people say like, oh, that's like 20 miles away, like behind. So then they're all like laughing. So like this, they're just so absorbed, and that's Lord Nityananda's like way. And finally, when they're in, when they reach Gauridas, in Panhati, Raghav Pandit's place. That's the first place they actually arrived. When they reached that place, then so many devotees were so happy. And at that time, like there was these 3 brothers, like very good kirtaniya, Madhav Ghosh, Govinda Ghosh, and Vasudev Ghosh. So, I think also today is Govinda Ghosh disappearance day. So, like these 3 brothers, they're like very good kirtaniyas, like they're like the best in the world, and we cannot even imagine how they're singing kirtan. But it is said that when Vasudev Ghosh, he was like the main kirtaniya that sings about Braj Leela. When he sings, then Lord Nityananda just becomes so absorbed and he starts dancing, and this is his preaching. He would just like he would gaze at like anyone, and immediately they will have prem. He had their prem drishti. Like he will just sprinkle his like glance over someone, and immediately they will have gore prem. Now, what this means actually is like now when we hear Harikatha from Srila Gurudev or the Vaishnavas, and sometimes we become inspired, like, oh, I hope I will have this love. Like when we hear Srila Gurudev speaking about the love of the gopis, then sometimes some mood comes to us like, oh, I hope I have this love. And then it may take lifetimes to develop. But see how merciful Lord Nityananda, just by glance, immediately one experiences, and they started crying, and they become like crazy, and they fall on the ground, and they become senseless. And so like this, Lord Nityananda is doing this preaching like this, very merciful. So that time also, they did Abhishek to Lord Nityananda, and after, yeah, they prayed to Lord Nityananda, like, we want to do your Abhishek. And so they did Abhishek on Lord Nityananda, and they dressed him so nicely that they put like all these golden ornaments, like all his fingers have all these like rings and nice necklaces and earrings, and like multicolored turban. So like dressing Lord Nityananda. And with this, people just become absorbed more. Seeing Lord Nityananda like this, they become absorbed on the mood of like in Braj Lila, remembering Lord Balaram. So now, then people can also criticize now, like, oh, look, this, and we see that a lot of people, like the brother of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, they're criticizing Lord Nityananda, like, why are, he was criticizing one parikar of Lord Nityananda. And because he was, in one kirtan, he was always chanting Nitai, 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 Nitai. It's like, why keep chanting Nitai? Just chant Gaur. Nitai is like, he's strange. He's sannyasi, then now he's married. And look, he has so many ornaments, and he's criticizing like this. So Mahaprabhu, he himself is telling, especially that time when Lord Nityananda Prabhu went back to Puri, after his preaching in Bengal, he returned to Puri. When Lord Nityananda actually arrived in Puri, it is said that he was so absorbed because he is now back to Puri, and he was so happy. He became senseless, and he was unconscious. At that time, Mahaprabhu was there. Like Mahaprabhu knew that he was coming, and so he came to that spot. And it is said, this is in Chaitanya Bhagavat. And he said there was no one there. But what Mahaprabhu did, he circumambulated Lord Nityananda Prabhu. So many times he was walking around Lord Nityananda Prabhu, and he was chanting one verse again and again. And in that verse he was telling that even if this Nityananda Prabhu, he goes inside a wine like store, or even if he marries a Muslim lady, like he will always be my worshipful. He is always gonna be a worshipable personality, even to Lord Brahma and to Mahadev. And he was like doing parikrama around him. And so later on, when Lord Nityananda was back in consciousness, and they embraced together, and you know how they are, like they're all crying. And then Mahaprabhu was glorifying him. Mahaprabhu was telling them that your ornaments in your body are nothing but manifestations of the 9 limbs of bhakti. And whatever you're doing is, I know that it's only for my pleasure. So, like this, Mahaprabhu himself is teaching us how to not just respect, but to worship Lord Nityananda Prabhu. And a lot of people, because they don't know, they don't appreciate Lord Nityananda Prabhu, then we know that their life, even how much they will say that I am a devotee of Lord Chaitanya, if they don't have proper respect or acknowledgement on Lord Nityananda, then they're actually no relationship with Mahaprabhu. So, therefore, I take this chance to glorify Lord Nityananda, and may blessings of the Vaishnavas and Srila Gurudev, then we can also really have proper realization and become a follower of Lord Nityananda, especially in his distribution of the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Okay. You're not giving any answer. Why the other Siddhartha following?
Om Ajnanatirandasya Jnanam Gunashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shurave Namah. So in the order of Prabhuji, we are doing kirtan of what we have heard from the Vaishnavas and trying to receive their blessings. The question has come. It is mentioned that Nanda Baba and Yashoda Mata performed Mahadwadasi Vrata, and as a result they had Krishna as their son. So the Vaishnavas have described, and also our Acharyas have written in their granthas, all these pastimes. We've heard from the Vaishnavas that Mother Yashoda and Nanda Baba, before they had any children, they were already quite old, and everyone in Brajamandal loved them so much, and they were so happy with them, but they were all always a little bit sad. Oh, why don't they have a son? Why don't they have any children? But actually, what was Nanda Baba and Yashoda Mata thinking? Nanda Baba would speak with Yashoda Mata, and they would associate with each other and do Hari Bhajan. And actually Yashoda Mother's mood was, I don't want any children. I don't want anyone to distract me from my bhajan, from my worship of Sri Hari. As soon as there are family members, then they take all our attention and attraction, and my love will be divided, and I won't be one-pointed. So why would I ever want a child? So, and then Nanda Baba felt...
This is not enough. I am will be divided, and Lord Shiva not only. Many sadhu, rishi, guru, Vaishnava, Acharya, all God family members come. Then my love will be appointed within my children. I cannot like this, my all God families, sadhus, acharyas, gurus, priests, Vaishnavas, bhaktas, and all animals, all living entity, I cannot then, I will be appointed to. I am disappointed to, missing them. Therefore, I know like. This is not my choice.
Then actually Nanda Baba became amazed and extremely blissful. And he said, oh my dear Yashoda, you are really God's blessing to me. I am so fortunate that I have someone to associate with who has this one-pointed mood. So in this way, together they were performing bhajan. But of course, as time went by...
Also telling, your name is Yashoda, meaning you are Jasasini, famous. Why? Your near is all goodness and good qualities. Therefore, I am very happy with you. You are conquered queen, also me. Your queen is God. You have very strong mood and serious mood. You not like any senses enjoyment. You not like his own any special things. God's special things, your things. Therefore you are teach me. I am also your nearest. Now is present and to make me good and good friend.
So in this way, they were performing bhajan together, but the Leela of Sri Krishna, of course, was going to take place, and it happened that Nanda Baba's grandfather or father, Parjanya Rishi, he was doing austerity and bhajan, and he advised Yashoda and Nanda Baba that if you really want to serve completely your Lord, then you must follow Mahadwadasi Vrata and also worship Ashishwar Mahadev.
he is worshipping Asiswar Mahadev. Then he is giving order. Oh, you follow Mahadev Sivata. I am following. No, I am. He is telling you follow Mahadev Sivata. Myself and Shivani, meaning Parvati. Both are following this brata. Therefore, I know this brata's result. How he following Shiv Thakur? Devi Mandam asked him, oh, my rule says, Ekadashi after the Adasi day, I am Mahadadasi day, brata breaking, my puja finish complete. How will be complete puja? She is Vishnu Sahasranam, every day reading, chanting, worshipping them. Today only much time, little time. She asked him, what can I do? Now no more time. Brata is finished now. Then Shiv Thakur say, what problem? Every day I am reading, chanting, Vishnu Sahasranam. After I am drinking any water or anything, worshipping after. Now no more time today. Then Shiv Thakur saying, Sahasra Namnam Punnanam Tirabhritu Tujaphanam Ekavritu Krishnasya Namoikam Tat Prajachati. Ramo Rameti Rameti Rama Rama Varnani Sahasra Namnam Punnanam Tirabhritu Tujaphanam Ekavritu Krishnasya Namoikam Tat Prajachati. 1,000 times Vishnu Nam chanting anybody, 1 time Ram Nam chanting will be equal. 3 times Ram Nam chanting, 1 time Krishna Nam chanting will be equal. There are no need you 1,000 Vishnu Nam. You only telling Krishna, Krishna. Then she is looking, really? Krishna is pleased? Long time I am chanting so Vishnu, 1,000 names. Vishnu never give me darshan. Never is happy with me. But Krishna is very happy and pleased. Krishna came and gave me darshan. And in heart, oh, she is very pleased. And heartily she is worshipping Krishna, offering Pushpanjali, Arga, 5 Dorga Achaman, after Bhoga. And this Bhoga Prasad being Shiva, she is Shivani taking. That day too, she is observed, oh, Krishna is everything. Then Shiv Thakur says, Etijang Sakila Apungsa Krishnas to Bhagavan Sa, Indrari Vakulam Lokam Midyanti Jugi. Krishna is God, Lord Himself. Krishnastu Sago Bhagavan Swayam. Etijangsa Kalapungsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is only God, only Lord, supreme authority. Other is there, expense and part and parcel. Then she is understanding. Oh, why not you telling me before? Say you never ask him, no faith for me, therefore, no love for me, no respect for me, therefore, but anybody is, their problems, then they are going. Anybody is near asking for surrender. Otherwise, people is all time proud. Oh, I am doing this is good, this is right, this is everything is good as it is, but now no proper, now clean. घर के जो भी जोगड़ा and गांव के सीट. Nearby Shiv Thakur, he is himself no respect. Thinking another is Vishnu is great. Now understanding Shiv Thakur near to our conclusion and conception is came good. Okay, now next.
So we can conclude that no matter how much we think we understand how we can worship our Ishtadev or Sri Guru, actually we won't really, we need to be under guidance, otherwise we won't understand anything. Prabhuji mentioned this morning, like there's an example of many tortoises and animals that live near the Ganga, but actually they are only thinking of their family, their enjoyment, and they're not they don't understand the real situation, and that the Vaishnava can actually, because he knows, because he has relationship with Sri Guru and the Lord, he can actually guide us on the small details and the shortcuts of how to do bhakti. So in this way, Shiv Thakur in this case is explaining to Parvati Devi like Parvati Devi was, of course, we just heard, following one way. She was following that she would do the Vishnu Sahasranam. But Shiv Thakur, he already understood what is the immediate way to please the Lord. And he revealed that to her. So this is the mercy of Anugatya, having the glory of having Anugatya. And also we can understand that by following this Mahadvadasi Vrata, definitely your worship to Krishna will become as it is. We see this in the...
Hari Bhakti Vilas is saying, Mahadvadasi Vrata meaning, what is the meaning of Mahadvadasi? Jaya, Vijaya, Trispasha, Bhakavardhini, Benjali, and after more 8 Mahadvadasi. That means Ekadasi will be short, Dadasi, Ekadasi touching, next day complete day, Dadasi, and also next day, Tradasi day also will be morning Dadasi. This is called Vishnu Srinkhal Yoga. Dadasi, running, Ekadasi will be very short. Pure Ekadasi, but that day touching Dadasi, next day Dadasi, third day also Dadasi. This is called Vishnu Srinkhal Yoga. Time for Vishnu. This is giving a long time. Sanatana Goswami writing. Shiv Thakur say, and Shastra say, this Mahadadasi Tithi came, then you left Shuddha Ekadasi, following this Mahadadasi. That Mahadadasi day, Lord himself coming with his own God family members. He is playing. Ekadasi, Mahadevi, why short? She is waiting. When God himself coming, I am alone, how can I help Jiva? She is praying. That time, God own Sarvashakti, all family members, mostly Jogmaya and her followers with his coming Jivas helping her. That day, anybody like and following that Vrata, the time is Krishna and heart. Very easy. Not too much problem. Oh, Varadadasi, Pamandadasi. These two coming. Jaya, Vijaya, Trispasha, Bhakavardhini, Varaha, Vaman and Benjali, and one is more, 8. Sometimes 10, sometimes 12, sometimes Vishnu Srinkhal Yoga. Therefore, Shiv Thakur has knowledge. Shiv Thakur telling, oh, Parjanya, you came mine here, you are very respected. I am carrying this Nandagram my head and my heart. You go. Also, you are following this Vrata, then this Lord Vishnu not only, Krishna himself is coming in your heart. And that day, your choice with him, anything asking, he is giving. Your prayer, he is giving. He himself giving, not thinking any other things. But he don't know, Nandasuda has no desire for children. They don't like any children. They don't like divide within God, a God family. Therefore, Shiv Thakur know everything. By telling this process, they following this Mahadadasi Vrata, then God will be pleased, and by love, God is coming, and God will be all time present there, never going back. never left. The Shiv Thakur Parjanya is for giving the instruction. This is writing Gopal Champu, Ananda Vrindavan Champu, and this Hari Bhakti Suruldaya, and after this one books. This Krishna Samhita, many places giving small hymns. Rupa Goswami all collecting, giving Jiva Goswami, everything putting, Gopal Champu, all evidence. Now next.
So Shiv Thakur explained that by following this vrata, that Nanda Baba and Yashoda Mata had nothing to worry, that the object of their love, their Lord, will come to them directly. He won't be able to wait any longer. Their service will be performed always to Him, directly before their eyes, and they don't have to worry that they will be caught by any material consideration, by any other desires, and they will be able to always perform their service. So they followed this, and it was as if Shri Gurudev also mentions this one pastime where Mother Yashoda had to prove to Krishna that she was his mother. So it was, we've heard the story, it was as if that Yashoda's shaligram that she was worshipping directly manifested as Krishna and became her baby, her small baby, and she was able to serve him with all her body, mind and words. And she had to prove this to Krishna one time when his friends were teasing him, and she said no, because his friends were saying, oh, your mother is golden, your father is golden, how can we be sure that you are actually their son? But then she very sweetly and very lovingly showed him, look, I prayed to Shaligram, and you came directly from him, you're from his mercy, and you can be sure that you are my son, and it is no surprise that you have a dark complexion. So so this is the glories of Mahadvadashi Vrata. We can see that many different places, also different Vaishnavas have different moods and different ways that they themselves follow these very critical, fine details. So it, as long as we accept what our Guru Varga, our direct line is doing, then that is perfect for us. Recently, this winter, was actually one of these very special Mahadvadashis came, Tri Sparsha, was that the one? And just like Prabhuji was mentioning just now, that day where Ekadashi is very short, and Mahadvadashi comes and touches 3 days, then Prabhuji was explaining at that time that there's actually, the Shastra says there's no more auspicious day than this, and everything should be put aside to follow this day. And but one very special thing of that time was, of course it is every year, Ekadashi, then Varahadvadashi, then Nityananda Trayodasi. So Prabhuji said, Shastra also says that if this day falls on the appearance day of Vishnu Tattva himself, of God, then it's even more auspicious. And but there was one small detail, one small sweetness that shows the greatness of our family. That some other places they would actually eat grains on the day of Nityananda Trayodasi because they were respecting Ekadashi and Dwadashi. But who is actually giving all of this knowledge to us? Who is actually taking us on their lap and explaining all these things to us, that is Sri Guru, that is Sri Nityananda Prabhu. So on that day, we gave highest respect to Nityananda Tridasi, which means for anyone who couldn't fast almost completely for 3 days, then we would do Falahar on Nityananda Tridasi. And in this way, that was showing significance for us to Sri Guru's mercy. So, this is all I can say.
Before Shivji telling them to follow Mahadadashi, they are not following Ekadashi before? They are not using to follow before Ekadashi?
Ekadashi meaning Mahadadashi and Ekadashi meeting with Dadashi, then is Ekadashi.
Okay, but before Nanda Baba not following any day Ekadashi or following?
They following Ekadashi, but I am now telling details more. The hearing and then his conclusion, his conception telling after his last moment my service. I am washing feet all over.
Om Jnanatamandasya Jnananjana Chakshuram Militam Jana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Panchakalpatribhyasya Kripa Sindhureva Chapritanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. First of all, offer my respectful obeisances unto my most worshipful Guru Pada Padma Lila Pravishya Om Shnipad Paramaradhyatama Astotara Sukashishmat Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and unto all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. So we are been discussing for the past days, yesterday, glories of Ekadashi, and today what is the speciality of Dwadasi Tithi. So I'll just try to remember a few things in conclusion of especially these glories of Ekadashi Devi, since I don't know so much about Dwadasi Tithi and we've heard so much. But anyhow, we heard yesterday on Ekadashi especially how Ambarish Maharaj was following Ekadashi, engaging his 11 senses in Krishna Bhakti. So when a devotee is engaged in devotion, then it's seen that many obstacles will come to them. And this can be seen like Krishna he tests his devotees. On one side it could be seen that he tests them, but actually he wants to show their glories. He wants to show the glories of the Vaishnavas. So he sent his also dear devotee, Durvasa Rishi, in an effort to show the glories of Ambarish Maharaj. So I won't go into detail of the story because everyone has heard it so many times from Srila Gurudev. But we know that Durvasa Rishi came on this Dwadasi day. So I speak about this because it has some relevance to Dwadasi. So after Ambarish Maharaj would leave his royal kingdom in Hastinapur or Delhi, and he would come to Mathura and perform on Dasami day, he would fast, or he would take only once a meal in the midday. And then on Ekadashi he would follow complete Nirjala, and then on Dwadasi day, after performing all the rites and worshipping the different Vaishnavas, respecting the Brahmins, he would break fast. So at that time, right as the time of breaking fast was coming, Durvasa Rishi came. So it's said that we've heard that, at the end of, it's respectful that when a guest is going, then you respect them as they're departing. Like a king is departing or a great Vaishnava is coming, when they're going, you respect them. So Ekadashi Devi is leaving at that time, then we take pardon as like some symptom that we are showing her respect. Okay, now you are going, and we are taking some small grain, and anyhow like this. So Durvasa Rishi came and he said, okay, Ambarish Maharaj respected him and gave him some chance for. And we know the story. He came back, and when Ambarish Maharaj had taken Charnamrita, because he had to respect, it was said that it's more important to, he had to break Ekadashi at the proper time. That was how important it was. He asked his advisors, what should I do? Should I wait for Durvasa Rishi to come back and first serve him, or should I break fast? So he said, okay, since you followed for full Nirjal without taking any water, then you can take Charnamrita, and then you can, when Durvasa Rishi comes, you can respect him. So he did this, and Durvasa Rishi came and he became very upset, and he took a dreadlock, one strand of his hair, and he dashed it on the ground, and a great demoness appeared and rushed towards him. So we see here that this is the test of Krishna. He also tested great devotees like Prahlad Maharaj. He's testing, okay, do you have some transcendental knowledge or not? Do you think that you are the body or not? This is the first thing we have to think. When Srila Bhaktivinoda Swami Maharaj came to the West, his first instruction is, you are not the body. So because of this false conception, we think we're the body, then these things come. What is Dvitiya Abhinivesh? Bhayam Dvitiya Abhiniveshitasya. So because of, you think that we're separate from God, then automatically Maya covers us and we think we're the body. But how do we get rid of that? Then we know so much, you follow or surrender to the Guru and so forth. So Ambarish Maharaj showed in this example that he was not afraid. This demoness was rushing towards him. You know, oh, what can you do to me? Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj was not afraid. Oh, however many times they tried to kill him, he knows that you can't kill the soul. This is the first instruction in the Gita Krishna gives. The Jayate Mrite Bhakra Chinnayang Bhutva Bhavita Bhanapuya Ajonitya Sasutayam Purano Hanyate Hanyamane Sharira. The soul is unborn, it is eternal, it cannot be slain by any weapons, it cannot be moistened by water, it cannot be burned by fire, it cannot be dried by the wind. So many things we hear. So Ambarish Maharaj showed that he wasn't fearful. So then his pastime came, Sudarshan Chakra came and he protected his, Lord Vishnu sent his Sudarshan Chakra, he protected Ambarish Maharaj, and then he chased after Durvasa Rishi. Durvasa Rishi went all over the universe searching for solace or shelter. And everyone said, oh, I can't protect you, I can't save you. He went from Brahma, he went to Indra, he went to Shiva. Finally, he went to Lord Vishnu, he asked him, oh, please protect me. Lord Vishnu said, if a thorn went in your foot, then how can you take it out of your head? You have to take it out of the thorn. So go back to Ambarish Maharaj and beg for forgiveness. Lord Vishnu said that, Sadhavo hridayam mayam, sadhavo hridayam tayam, maranyate na jananti naham tebyo manangapi. That the devotees are my heart. And my heart, I am in the devotees' heart, and the devotees are in my heart. So you can't separate me from my devotees. So this is showing, Krishna is showing, by this pastime is showing the glory of his devotees, and he's also showing that they have no fear, and they don't have this false duality, this conception, oh, I am the body. They know that I am the soul. So this is the great, this conception can come. We see that Ambarish Maharaj had this firm conviction after he had followed this Ekadashi Vrat. So he's also a pure devotee, but he's teaching us through his own practice that this importance of Ekadashi Vrat, that by following this, then we understand that our 11 senses, in one sense we have this body and the material senses, but this is not real. Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sata, ubayorapi drishtandas tanayas tattvadarshibhi. That one person who actually understands the truth will know that what is temporary, what is nasato, it can never be permanent. So the body and the senses are impermanent. One time we get the body of a dog, one time we get the body of a pig, one time we get the body of so many different species. So that's nasato vidyate bhavo. Nabhavo vidyate sadas. It's impermanent, so it can never be fixed. But what is permanent, that can never be changeable. So the soul has spiritual senses, spiritual body, and with these it can engage in Krishna's service. So that's why we follow Ekadashi very carefully, so that we try to not give so much food to the material senses, the material body, and we try to feed the spiritual senses and the spiritual body. So that's why we follow this Ekadashi Vrat very carefully and Dwadashi Vrat. And it's seen that by this then we'll gradually rise above bodily conception, and we'll understand this Krishna's teachings that how can we rise above like Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, all these things. Krishna teaches that Kam and Krodh are the greatest enemies of the living entity in this world. It's like a great fire that's always burning one. And no matter how much you try to put it out, it just increases. So how can you rise above this? You have to realize that beyond these subtle, lower nature, there's a higher nature. Aparayam itastanyam prakritim vidime param jiva bhutam mahabhav yayitam dharyate jagat. That beyond the material nature, the soul is of a higher nature. It's a spirit. So then you have to realize indriyani paranyahur, indriyani paranyahur. The above the body is the senses. Indriyabhyas tara mana. Beyond, above the senses is the mind. Manasastu para buddha. Beyond the mind is the intelligence, and beyond the intelligence is the self. So then you can realize evam buddhe parang buddha samstapyat manam atmanam tahi satrum mahabhayo kama rupam darasadam. That this Kam is the greatest enemy, but how can it be defeated? Then you have to realize that actually this Kam is not bad, but it has to be engaged in its proper object. So Kam, you have to realize that beyond the material senses there's spiritual senses, and those spiritual senses should be engaged in the service of who? Kamadevam. So who is this? By following Ekadashi, then the Ekadashi Devi is like the mother, Bhakti Janani. So what does the mother do? The mother is, from the birth of the child, she is the first one who is always nurturing the child. She gives her breast milk. She always cares for the child if it has any problems. She changes the diapers and so forth. She helps him walk the first time. If he stumbles, she picks him up. So Ekadashi Devi is like a mother of Bhakti, meaning that when the sadhak is struggling, like a child struggles so much, he can't help himself. Flies are biting him, but he can't protect himself. He can't even roll over. But Ekadashi Devi is so merciful, like a mother, that even though the sadhak has going through these stages of anarthani vritti, so much struggles are there. Oh, sometimes he's thinking, okay, sometimes I'll be a brahmachari, then I'll be a grahastha, I'll enjoy kakana bhogana, kakana tyagana. Sometimes he's thinking I'll enjoy, sometimes I'll renounce. But actually he has no strength to do either. So without mercy, the Vaishnavas or Bhakti Devi, they only see that you have some love, some sincerity, some greed, and some endeavor for bhakti. Then they'll most mercifully help you along. Like a baby, so if we come in this bhakti line, it's not that we can say, I'll jump there, I'll jump to the top of the tree and attain everything. We can have that desire, like a child will think when he goes to school, okay, one day I want to be a lawyer, one day I want to be a great sportsman. So we can have this desire, okay, one day I want to be Radharani's maidservant. So just that desire, if we can cultivate that desire, then that's enough. Then gradually, Guru and Vaishnavas and Ekadashi Devi will cultivate us, and naturally they'll help us learn how to walk, help us to learn to grow. And when we become older, they teach us how to serve Krishna, how to serve in the spiritual world. So that's how do we, again, we try to raise above the bodily consciousness, and we realize that the soul has some spiritual senses, spiritual body, and it's not that if we give up this world, we're losing anything. This world is changeable, it's impermanent, we search for happiness, but we cannot ultimately attain it. However much we try to get happiness, we only achieve suffering like chewing the thorns and tasting our own blood. So if we serve Krishna, we realize that who is he? Jayati Jananivasa Devaki Janmavado. That actually Krishna is said to be the son of Devaki, but this is only a vad. This is only a theory. But who is he really? Braja Vadu Vargena. Yes. So this is in the beginning of the 10th canto, Sukadeva Goswami is giving an indication who is Krishna in reality. He is this person who is Vardhyati Kamadevam. He is always increasing the transcendental desire of love in the Brajavasis and especially the Braj Devis. So this is our aspiration, and it's that highest thing. So Ekadashi Devi is like a mother, gradually nourishes her child and teaches him how to walk and so forth. And when he becomes older, she sends him to school. So if we can take shelter of Ekadashi Devi, and also Mahadvarasi Titi when it comes, not separate or independent, like there may be a mother, there may be an aunt, a sister, it's all in the same family, and gradually we can achieve our eternal welfare.
Very